Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar called Freedom from IT, How to Give Power Back to Marketing and Merchandising Teams. I'm Debbie House, Editor-in-Chief of Retail Touchpoints, and I'll be moderating today's presentation. Joining us to speak today are Maya Knights from IDC Retail Insights and Mike Hayes from Mozu. This webinar event is the sixth in a series of 7 presented as part of the Retail Touchpoints Holiday Connected Consumer Series. During this series, attendees have had the opportunity to hear from leading industry experts who have discussed holiday trends and best practices. Topics have included inventory strategies, mobile, social, and the in-store experience. Our last session will take place today at 2 p.m. Eastern. We hope that you've been able to join us for some or all of the sessions, either live or on demand. If you want to take a more detailed look at the agenda, just visit the Retail Touchpoints website. The link is displayed on this slide. We also welcome you to share your thoughts and perspectives on this and all other Holiday Connected Consumer Series webinars on Twitter using the Holiday CCS hashtag. You can also see a few other hashtags below that you can use in your tweets. So for those of you who might be new to Retail Touchpoints, here's a quick overview. We're an all-digital media company publishing a weekly email and online newsletter, daily news, special reports, and multimedia presentations. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our weekly newsletter. We welcome input and feedback through traditional means, phone and email, and also social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Our website is www.retailtouchpoints.com. For today's presentation, we're using the Brighttop platform. During the presentation, you can access all the information you need from the top toolbar. If you have a question you'd like answered by one of our presenters, click on the Ask a Question link. We also encourage you to rate today's session by clicking the Rate button at the top of the screen. Just a quick note to attendees that the presentation is slated for approximately 40 minutes with time for a lot of questions at the end. However, if you have a question during the discussion, please don't hesitate to submit it in the Ask a Question area. So here's some information about today's speakers. Maya Knights is a Senior Research Analyst with IDC Retail Insights. With more than 15 years' experience as a journalist and editor specializing in enterprise technology in retail, Maya has developed a deep understanding of the demands and challenges faced by retailers and which technologies can support their needs in addressing ever more complex consumer expectations and behavior, as well as vendor market trends. Prior to joining IDC, Maya edited Retail Technology magazine, which has a combined online and print readership of more than 30,000 industry professionals. And later in the presentation, we're going to hear from Mike Hayes, Director of Product Management for Mozu. Mike oversees the development of the Mozu SaaS commerce platform. He has more than 18 years of experience in the development of enterprise architecture and product management, ranging from global Fortune 100 companies to startups. So with that, we're going to kick off the presentation with Maya. Welcome to you, Maya.
Thank you, Debbie. And hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for this webinar. So, as Debbie said, I am a Senior Research Analyst for IDC Retail Insights, and it's my job here today to try and set some context and set the scene around why retailers are actually seeking to empower marketing and merchandising teams and free them from potential challenges traditionally associated with running retail businesses on enterprise IT systems. So I think the best way of approaching this knotty subject is to characterize the standard traditional retailer's IT landscape and find out why it doesn't necessarily work for marketing and merchandising to today's very empowered consumer. It's a basic slide, but it's there to show how sort of vertically integrated and basic the landscape that of IT systems that retailers have relied on for so many years has been. We have the infrastructure layer as the foundation, including the networking and the hardware, whether it be PCs or data center equipment. And then you've got that productivity suite of software sitting across the top of the infrastructure that all business users use to manage, to run their day-to-day responsibilities. But the key one where we're going to focus today, where I believe, most marketing and merchandising teams are operating mostly from a day-to-day perspective in terms of running a retail business, is in those line of business applications. So to compare and contrast this very, very basic view of the retail enterprise IT landscape, it is changing, and it's changing rapidly. We'll talk about some of the drivers that are leading the infrastructure to change so rapidly, the landscape to change so rapidly. But here's just a quick taster of the kind of complexity that IDC is seeing insofar as retail IT landscape development is concerned. The things to call out here really is the emergence of a third platform made up of 4 pillars of enabling technology areas, technology sets, including big data, cloud, social and mobile. And it will become clear as we go through the presentation why we're talking about technology first and consumer second, because by understanding the technologies, they apply just as much to the internal transformation that retailers need to undergo in order to serve consumers as they do to consumers themselves, in terms of completely revolutionizing the way that they shop and the way that they engage with retailers. So in this third platform, we have many of the capabilities that retailers are now relying on to execute on omni-channel business models. In IDC, we tend to describe the term omni-channel as giving the customer as consistent and seamless an experience across all touch points, digital or physical, throughout the purchase life cycle and the customer life cycle. Again, very, very enabled, which are very, very enabled by the 4 pillars of the third platform, 4 pillar technologies of the third platform. So I think you're all familiar with the first and second platforms, where we most are, and most retailers are moving into this third platform. But I think the other things to call out on this slide are, on the right-hand side, the next and third platform, the kinds of apps, services, information, content, and experiences that the third platform is enabling and driving. And on the left-hand side, to start to drill down and characterize the kind of consumers that this kind of infrastructure and landscape is going to serve into the future. Those kinds of consumers are described within IDC as the 5 I shopper. The 5 I's are instrumented, informed, interconnected, in place and immediate. I think it's fair to say that everybody would agree mobile devices, much less internet access, have really revolutionized the shopping experience for consumers. A data point here from IDC has found that no less than 2.2 billion smartphones will be shipped worldwide this year. And in the next 4 years to 2018, the growth rate is going to see that increase at a rate of 3.9%. So being aware of and being able to manage your instrumented shopper, who's by definition therefore informed if they have always on internet access, is going to be pretty key. I mean, the other point here to bring out is how interconnected they are. Looking at this webinar as part of the Retail Touchpoints holiday season, I think it's key here to find out that, to bear in mind that 71% of consumers said that they were more likely to make a purchase based on social media referrals this Christmas than before. So having a capability where marketers and merchandisers can really manage that interconnected experience on behalf of consumers is very, very important, and also in terms of wherever they may be, and with an air of immediacy and proactiveness, because as far as consumers are concerned, they have the ability to take action to purchase, whether it be instant gratification or buy in store or buying online. That immediacy is very apparent to them, and so it should be apparent in the work that merchandisers and marketers are able to carry out for retailers going forward. So understanding the important role that customers are playing now play in terms of the way that retailers need to reconfigure their business models and their enabling IT landscapes, we need to take another look at the role the consumer is now playing in this transformation. So you've got the consumer very much there at the heart of all operations, wherever they may be at any time or any place, on any device or any channel. And the marketers and merchandisers are looking for the best ways to build awareness based on the criteria of who the customer is, where they are, and how they're contacting them, which lead to considerations that will hopefully persuade them to buy and convert and become a loyal customer that can be retained and can become a great brand advocate for the retailer. I think the wheel around the outside here is the key one as far as marketers and merchandisers is concerned, in terms of characterizing the sheer complexity of capabilities they need to master nowadays in order to optimize customer experiences across the full consumer life cycle. The question comes in terms of looking at this customer-centric transformation as how can IT help to be part of that and not to be, not to inhibit that, not to act as an inhibitor, which is absolutely key. So one of the key statistics that we in Retail Insights brought out in our predictions at the end of last year was that by 2013, those third platform technologies that I described are going to redefine around 90% of IT roles. And it's really important to understand how current role of IT and its relationship with specifically marketers and merchandising teams it can be inhibiting the retailer from realizing the omni-channel vision that I've been discussing and outlining. Breaking some of those inhibitors down, IT spans the entire business and therefore has to balance the investment priorities of a lot of conflicting different C-level initiatives. This all has the effect of putting pressure on the ability of IT to keep pace with what I hope everybody agrees is already a far accelerated pace of change within retail. And thinking about that pace of change, what are the kind of things that are coming out as requirements for marketers and merchandisers that IT are finding difficult to deliver on from a horizontal perspective? That's demand for real-time analytics, so you can have that real-time response to customers, and the imperative to engage via mobile as well. And the last area I'm calling out in this slide is generally poor levels of collaboration with IT and lines of business. If IT isn't necessarily speaking with the lines of business that include marketing and merchandising teams, it tends to mean that the speed and quality of the customer insight that these teams rely on to optimize their execution on retail strategies can be stymied by a real lack of analytical agility. So insofar as dealing with these inhibitors, the essential guidance that IDC likes to offer is for marketing, merchandising and IT to work together much harder to coordinate governance around IT specification, procurement and deployment in order to support investments in any omni-channel process reinvention along the lines of the wheel diagram I showed in a previous slide. They must also agree to standardize on mobile as default for the application design paradigm moving forward. And they must enable and model more collaborative business processes that make use of socially enabled business technologies as well. What that actually looks like and what that means is we'll get to in the next slide, but I feel that having looked at the old IT paradigm and the demands of today today's omni-channel consumers, as well as some of the challenges that are faced in delivering this on these drivers collaboratively between IT, marketing, and merchandising. We're now best placed to look at the IT landscape as it should be in an omni-channel world to serve the omni-channel customer today. The model that in this slide might look a little bit amorphous, but it will make sense in the sense that we describe it as the O3 retail IT model, where omni-channel orchestration and optimization are the name of the game. Within that, just to explain it to you and draw out a bit of the detail, we call on merchandising and fulfillment and commerce and marketing in those four bubbles as essential for an effective omni-channel strategy. Without a good foundation, any applications that those functional lines of business use are going to fall short of the omni-channel goals that we've outlined. Another way I like to bring this slide to life is if you imagine the surrounding cloud as being a very calm, still pond into which someone has pitched the pebble of customer experience optimization, and those rings that radiate out are the kinds of changes, the ripple effects that retailers really need to think about when they're re-engineering their processes and looking at updating their IT to empower their marketers and merchandisers. And I've specifically called out merchandising and marketing here because it, just like fulfillment and commerce, it spans a huge swathe of those processes, those process optimization capabilities, including merchandising, offer, channel, and customer intelligence, going back to the need for much stronger analytical systems or analytical capabilities in systems to be able to orchestrate product life cycles in line with customer expectations. So again, thinking about the Christmas theme, what kind of Christmas goods are going to be the hot sellers this year, and being able to orchestrate the product life cycle around that very, very key selling window. There's process management above that and omni-channel orchestration and optimization. And again, just to restate, those really transformational technologies of big data, cloud, social business, and mobility that are really setting the scene for this kind of transformation. So IDC recommends starting with an omni-channel commerce foundation first. This will allow retailers to align decisions around marketing and merchandising to a common architecture and a defined framework, which is going to allow innovation and ease the workload on the IT function, as well as empowering marketers and merchandisers to make day-to-day changes on the fly in order to keep pace with customer expectations. The next slide, having set the scene for the IT landscape, we need to dovetail into the commerce line of business applications that marketing, and merchandising tend to need. With marketing, we see an increased need for greater analytic capabilities built into the platforms that they're using, and likewise with merchandising and loyalty systems, it's the same. They cross-fertilize each other. So much so that IDC's global survey of retailers this year has revealed that omni-commerce and store platform replacements that are going to enable mobile, integrated and interactive experiences are going to support a 10% growth rate in commerce investment through to 2017. The benefits here are faster time to market, proactive response to customer demand, support for that omni-channel execution that I've tried to explain and discuss, and generally empowering your marketers and merchandisers to execute on the retail strategies that retailers are developing at the moment. The other thing to bear in mind here is that IT will also be freed up to work on projects that offer more strategic value than acting purely in a support role to marketers and merchandisers, and concentrating on keeping the lights on and business as usual. So when a marketer wants to introduce a new bit of functionality to the commerce site, for example, they want to introduce flash sales, they shouldn't have to go back to IT and wait for 3 weeks for a development plan to be drawn up and strategies to be decided. They should be empowered to be able, by the underlying commerce platforms and line of business applications that they use, to be able to do that make those kinds of changes on the fly. So in terms of identifying the commerce platform, whether it's online only or spanning a number of physical and digital channels, and having characterized what good looks like from that perspective, I'd just like to call out a few key characteristics, again, enabled by those foundational third platform technologies that marketers, merchandisers, and IT alike should be looking for when they transition or migrate or upgrade their IT systems for today's omni-channel age. They should look for scalability and resilience. Cloud-based systems here can help rationalize capital IT costs and cut the amount of physical infrastructure maintenance required. Intuitive interfaces are absolutely key here. So all the features and functionality that marketers and merchandisers require to optimize trading and the customer experience can be accessed very quickly without a lot of training, and particularly without a lot of reliance on IT. In order to make sure that commerce platform really sits well at the level of integration I've alluded to within the IT landscape and alongside the other line of business applications that marketers and merchandisers need, the commerce platform needs to have a hugely strong partner ecosystem, which ensures best of breed partner integration in order to optimize all aspects of retail operations, as well as including marketing and merchandising. And in order to support a strong partner ecosystem, it's absolutely key that the commerce platform of choice for today has an open API system that eases integration challenges, so that new tech-enabled innovations around, say, mobile or social or flash sales or multi-site are concerned can be actioned quickly to match the speed of change that we've already alluded to. And again, going to speed of development, speed and time to market, a commerce platform that includes some kind of templated development capabilities, software development kits, for example, as well, can also help speed up time to market, as well as ensure the consistency of the customer experience, particularly across multi-site retailers. And it can also help dovetail into other channels, physical channels as well, ensuring that development of the look and feel of a commerce, an online shopping site, for example, can be translated more easily into the point of sale capabilities of in store, particularly at Christmas. It's going to be very, very important for retailers to show that they have a very, very consistent offering to customers if they're to succeed in the upcoming Christmas season. So with that, I'll hand back to Debbie.
Thanks so much, Maya. And here's some information on Maya, but we'll also show that at the end as well. I just want to remind everyone that you can ask questions. If you want to click on the questions link, you can send in a question for our speakers, and they will respond at the end of the presentation. So now, again, thank you so much for your insights, Maya, and I think that my case's presentation is going to dovetail very nicely on some of your remarks. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you, Debbie. So, Maya brought up a whole lot of information in terms of what are the tools and the types of capabilities we need to do to connect with our shoppers and improve conversion. And certainly around every holiday season, getting a new product out to market and connecting with the shoppers is absolutely key. So you can't afford a delay in connecting with IT and building out landing pages and getting something out to market that is really meaningful and brings those shoppers in. So what are the tools that you need on a daily basis to not have that dependency, to break the bonds on your IT or a web page, landing page, site development, to get things out there quicker and compete with fresh SEO terms? So to do that, I'm going to use just a fictitious company, a mythical company that we call Mystic Sports, and talk about part of the thing that most retailers discover during their journey is that it's not one shopper demographic, it's actually many. And the types of content and even products that resonate with those shoppers are very different. It doesn't mean that they're any less valuable, it just means you have to connect with them in a different, more meaningful way. So some of the tools that we use to do that range from a single site with customized content that gets into personalization and understands where someone's coming from and what device they're coming from, and develops a unique experience based on whether they're starting from a mobile device or a desktop. And some of the strategy is you want to develop content that is consistent so that every time that shopper engages with your brand or even a product detail, they're seeing a consistent message, whether that be in store or on a mobile device or on specific marketing and landing pages. And so to do that, you need a tool that really, truly blends the line between content management and commerce. It removes the need for complex business orchestration between the marketing and IT teams and even your product organization and buying organization so that you can set up content one time that has the salient points. And a couple of things that traditionally happen here is we have a long lead time. So we spend a lot of time building out analytics to really understand conversion patterns of these different customer demographics. But now reacting to them, we have a longer delay, directly impacting the overall conversion cycle, especially around critical times like around the holidays. So it's absolutely key that you have the tools to listen to what's going on with a customer, getting the feedback either directly from shoppers, analytics, or conversion rates, and being able to quickly move on that. Launching new landing pages without the need of additional coding using templated design, as Maya mentioned before, or being able to launch specific microsites targeted at those demographics, or even a microsite targeted at that new product launch that's going to be the next hot item for the holiday season. Allowing you to compete with unique SEO terms and get a step ahead of your competitors without trying to fight or pay, for very expensive SEM terms. You can compete on a quicker time to market, offer unique experiences, maybe even geared specifically towards that product offering, much less at a shopper demographic. So certainly experiencing and unifying the content between each of those touch points, online, offline, and email marketing is a key point, but that's just the first step. That also has to tie into the actual product offering. Too many products actually can cause a little bit of bewilderment in shoppers. Too many options allow them to kind of stray from the things that are meaningful to them and potentially look elsewhere. So you want to have a system that actually allows you to curate the products for each of those demographics. Setting up the product one time and manage them in a single location with the same content, but allowing you to reuse them for each of the interactions, whether that be through a landing page or unique microsites, and getting the largest bang for the buck for every piece or every hour that you spend on building those assets. And so a couple of strategies that we see consistently, besides just within obviously unique landing pages, is again going back to microsites, which allow you to hone that experience and even hone the product catalog for each one of those demographics. However, today, a lot of people are confined with their current systems. It's very painstaking and takes a lot of IT engagement, effort, and even planning in terms of fiscal planning to be able to launch new microsites. And so part of what Maya was referring to earlier is really the fact that because of the change in shopper expectation and engagement, you need a platform and you need to be demanding the tools that have a platform that give the power back to your marketing teams, your buying teams to connect and build these products and launch them real time. So now imagine launching a new landing page. You go through your normal marketing design and without coding, but using a template drag and drop site editor, you build a new landing page, you stage it, you review it, and you launch it. The next day, you're getting real-time conversion feedback. Is that moving the needle in terms of converting orders for the holiday season? Now imagine that same afternoon, you're already accounting and tweaking that same landing page using drag and drop site creation. At the end of the day, you preview it, you make sure it's good, and you launch it again, all without ever needing to talk to someone in IT. Well, that is possible. And that's the type of response that shoppers are expecting. And by the way, that message, the content that you put up on the landing page, it can be consistent across those online experiences, mobile apps, even the custom-built loyalty apps that are native to each of the mobile devices, as well as in-store displays, if you've got the right back-end system. And we've got to move ourselves to that, because that's absolutely what shoppers are expecting today. They want a unified experience, and they want to feel like they're connected to you and you understand what they're looking for, because they are overwhelmed with information. So the system has to be designed to give that power back to your teams using straightforward technology and tools, but is unified across every touch point. So what we've talked about so far is being able to customize and hone the content either through unique microsites or landing pages, and without the need of going back to IT, using a templated theme system, something that allows you to protect your brand and drive consistency of messaging across the board, and as well as being able to hone and kind of unify a product catalog that is designed for each one of those demographics or those shopper experience to help ensure that you conversion, as well as allowing you to look at analytics and constantly respond on a day-by-day basis, not a week or monthly basis. It's absolutely critical. And so the next thing you have to do is you have to layer in there for a specific engagement. You have to layer in contextual incentives. This is done traditionally through the use of promotions or coupons. And the more that we layer in understanding each of the shopper demographics, the customers, the better that we can hone the actual conversion. This discounts is certainly a way to do that, or promotional items, coupons, but even the items that we recommend, cross-sells, upsells, those are all types of incentives. So these are traditional tools that we use today. The challenge, though, is we go often on our websites, you need a tool that allows you to launch a new promotion, a new discount, but that also be tied in concretely and have the same messaging that is unified with your email marketing system. And today, we spend hundreds of hours launching a single promotion at times between retailers of trying to unify and get consistency in that message, because of our IT infrastructure doesn't allow us to connect the systems in a unified, streamlined way. We're using antiquated systems within IT and from a business standpoint, and putting that burden back on our business teams, on the merchandisers, marketers, to try to synchronize and drive digital assets and promotion campaigns across all these systems, and hope we haven't missed something in that expectation setting of a client in the way that they're experiencing our brand and the product. So back to Maya's point of unifying the system, you want to be able to set up unique incentives that are targeted at each one of your shopper demographics. Immediately watch, are they moving the needle in terms of my conversion? Are they driving new traffic? Maybe this is a deal of the day in terms of the holiday, where you're leading up growing incentives on each item all the way up to the holiday and buying season. And you want to synchronize that message between the online experience as well as your email marketing. Well, to do that, you need a platform that allows you to unify those systems, and that's where the open API comes in. That's where you set these things up one time, and once the infrastructure is laid out, that one-time investment, now the power is all back into the business hands. I can completely control that messaging and unify it across all of the tools I need. That outer circle that Maya mentioned earlier, that's a lot of touch points. So if you don't have a system that allows you to manage content and commerce, and as well as understand your customer in a unified way, every time you have to go back and touch one of those outer rings, that's effort that you were spending in making systems work versus allowing you to hone and customize the shopper experience for your brand and improve conversion. And that's what the technology shift is about, and it's absolutely following the must-have demands to meet the shopper expectation. Because if you're not doing it, rest assured your competitors are chasing that as well. So just the high-level recap around what we're talking about, you're looking for the tools that enable you at the end of the day to manage site and overall channel integration, whether that be through my one domain and primary.com or through multiple microsites and landing pages in a unified, consistent way. I want to be able to hone and target my catalog to each of those specific shopper demographics to make sure I'm showing them the things that are going to convert the most and be the most meaningful and relevant to that demographic. I want to manage promotions in a consistent, unified way across each one of those channels and systems. And to do that, I need a platform that allows me to integrate all of these aspects together and ties it back to the person that we should focus the most on, which is our customer. And that's at the heart of each one of our journeys to kind of master the omni-channel experience. And so with that, an example is, the latest generation of one such system is the Mozu platform. It's built for business, completely converging content and commerce management, allows single brand, multi-catalog management from one unified suite. And it's designed for innovation, right? It's API first. It's entirely geared to syncing up and unifying those messages across each one of those IT systems and giving you the power. So it's focused on building out a very complex app, but getting the technology out of the way and making it very drag and drop simple to a business user. And so if you'd like additional information, please visit us at mozu.com and we'll get you set up with a demo. And with that, I'll pass it back to Debbie.
All right, terrific. Thanks so much, Mike. It was great to be able to see it in terms of an example, real world or not, and how we might put it into use. Again, I want to just remind our audience you can submit questions, and you can see here how to do that. So, Mike, I want to kind of kick off the Q&A with a high-level question about marketing. Can you talk in a little bit more detail about what your definition of omni-channel marketing is versus regular e-commerce marketing?
Sure. It's a great question. I think omni-channel commerce is really about a consistency of message across each of the touch points. And so shoppers are armed with effectively, the internet in their hands these days. And so a lot of times they're going to walk into a store or browse a website with potentially more information than you're displaying. And so that consistency across what you're sending them in an email message to get them to land on a promotional web page or on your site should match up to what they're seeing and they're getting from an in-store representative. Otherwise, they're going to look elsewhere to get that consistency because it's really about confidence. Is that the right product I'm looking for? Is that the right price I'm going to pay? Is that the brand that I want to interact with? So that consistency of message and being very targeted, I think, is much more present and meaningful in an omni-channel scenario versus in a traditional e-com standpoint. What we see is a lot of, it tends to be, come see me first, right? Make sure that I've got confidence in the click conversion stream of my cart, but you're competing against a lot kind of out in the wilderness. So now it's about, once you've latched on to a shopper, about making sure the experience they have with your brand is powerful enough to keep them coming back. And so it's more about retention in a traditional standpoint and a lot more about consistency to drive retention in an omni-channel world.
All right, terrific. So if I'm a retailer and I have both stores and an e-commerce site, can you talk us through, what are some of the first steps we need to take in order to reach that goal of delivering that seamless omni-channel experience?
Well, the ideal first step is making sure that you've got a platform that allows you to do that and integrate that information consistently. And that's where it starts. It starts with having a way to integrate the systems at kind of the foundational level in an open way without building these very shaky bridges, so to speak, between business systems. And so how many times have we all seen the system where, hey, I have one tool to build my landing page and do promotions and tie that into commerce, and I've got an entirely different system where I've got to take the same digital assets, photography and content, and put them in a different format to feed them into my email marketing system. And all that work tends to be very manual, and I go off with multiple kind of developers and content authors to design the HTML and the digital content, and then I manually kind of manage them through. To get the speed of response back to the shopper, you need something where you can do that in one system and integrate them together. So you develop a landing page, and pieces of that content are then shared within the email marketing standpoint. And the conversion rates tied into, and we understand the same customer lifetime value in the same way across those systems. So starting off, it's very much about making things talk together in a seamless way without doing a lot of bolt-on activities. Otherwise, you're always going to pay for the overhead of kind of doing the work twice, so to speak.
Yeah, and it sounds to me like it would lead to just the opposite of what we're talking about, not consistency, but inconsistency.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, Maya, I know you have some insights and thoughts on, how a single integrated commerce platform can serve an omnichannel business. Do you want to share some of those thoughts with us?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just alluded to a few of them there in the last slide before my details, but I think some of the characteristics and therefore benefits to be derived from the kind of systems that Mike's been outlining are, the ability for marketers and merchandisers to do business on the move. I mean, I talked about mobile engagement from a customer perspective, but cloud-based systems that are responsive to device as well, so that they can be available anywhere, internet connected, are very, very important. I know that marketers and merchandisers, want to be able to do business on the move, to be able to see the effects of new features when they're rolled out very, very quickly. I mentioned scalable and flexible and adaptable. The architecture must support multi-site, open APIs. It has to support responsive websites as well, and even the development of apps, if that's the way that a retailer is deciding to build out the online side of their omni-channel strategy. I mentioned user-friendly UI and reporting structures, but I didn't drill down into the fact that I know Mike's brought this out, that there should be no coding required. There should be drag and drop functionality capabilities. Also, I think a key one that I wasn't able to bring out in the time of the presentation was having a predictable pricing model. I've been doing some work around sort of the commerce platform provider landscape, and I would say beware revenue share, because a lot of retailers, whether they're online only or just making their first forays into online because they had physical stores, might actually find that a revenue share model can inhibit growth, especially when it explodes as it has tended to do online in the past. Just thinking about Christmas last year, I believe there were 2.8 billion visits to websites during the December period alone by UK consumers alone. So you really have to be ready to handle that kind of load, but also make sure that the kind of pricing model that you've entered into to use that commerce platform is also conducive to supporting large-scale growth as well. Talked about development capabilities. I think there needs to be integration to customer relationship management systems, order management systems, product range, inventory, and assortment systems. I know one of the key elements of Mozu is being able to use a master catalog, for example, and roll multiple sites out from that. So develop once, roll out many times, be a bit more flexible in that sense. That's very important. Widgets, things like promotions, multiple discounts, flash sales, and also support for much finer customer segmentation, and reflecting that with features like wish lists, or being able to track behavior, or merchandising according to these much finer grained understanding of customer target segments. But all of these characteristics, I could go on ad nauseum, they're so important. But I think, ultimately, with the growth that we have online at the moment, whether that's mobile or traditional PC laptop, we're seeing the convergence of content and commerce, whereas I suppose the sales process, the product management side of things was abstracted physically when it was a when retailers operated store-only systems. So it's making sure that the key takeaway, I think, is to make sure that the commerce platform that you adopt really deals with the convergence of content and commerce and allows, empowers marketers and merchandisers to capitalize on that convergence, to be able to make changes on the fly and to respond to competitive drivers as well as customer demand without having to always defer to the IT department is going to be absolutely key going forward, particularly in this festive season coming up, where we're going to see some real winners and also some real losers for those who aren't ready yet.
All right, terrific. So, yeah, Maya, you mentioned a whole bunch of different characteristics that we need to be paying attention to. But, Mike, I'd like to kind of focus on one of them, and that is around pricing. Maya brought that up. I think that one of the areas a lot of retailers are challenged with is managing pricing, advertised prices, and controlling discounts that are mandated by manufacturers. Can you talk about how Mozu addresses this?
Sure. I think it's a great point. So, Mozu as a platform we've built in controls around the buyer actually being able to, or the product manager, depending on the organization, being able to actually set a map pricing controls, and the timeline in which those controls are available, and that protects any other price, whether that be a list price or sales price or even a discounted price, from showing anywhere other than in the appropriate spots, as kind of dictated as from the last Supreme Court rulings, right? So as a system, we've got a built-in feature that puts that power into the hands and helps drive consistency from a business user perspective, and actually kind of protects the rest of the organization or the downstream organization from not understanding that a product is under map pricing restriction, and helps to avoid organizational penalties from suppliers.
All right, terrific. Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about, again, what we're focusing on in this presentation. It's that idea of being free from IT. I imagine there are probably some members of your IT teams that might not be thrilled hearing that. How do you deal with that? What kind of tasks should IT be focused on? And then how can the business work together, to focus on growth, increasing sales, and the bottom line?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So, I think the title is definitely provocative on lots of areas, but the reality is a lot of IT teams are, kind of consider it their responsibility to protect the organization from system outage. And so in this case, when you have a platform that's designed correctly, that is integrated, and that your IT team understands how it's connected to the rest of the organization, but offers the right controls in the platform so that the organization can limit risk and exposure in terms of messaging and outages, I think the IT teams are actually great advocates for putting in modern platforms that do give the power back to the business users, and which, their goal is to focus on optimizing and making the rest of the organization much more productive, but they've got to manage that risk. So with enterprise platforms like Mozu, we strike a great balance and actually end up working well with almost all IT teams to make sure that the risk is managed and they feel very comfortable with the security and the controls that are in place, and allows them to go focus on the bigger, more meaningful organizational things that drive real revenue, bringing in the additional tools and enhancing the kind of connectivity between those that drives real bottom line improvement across the org.
So Maya, I know you have some thoughts on this topic. Do you have specific suggestions on if an organization feels like they need to manage a cultural change with the new with the focus on marketing and merchandising and IT's role, how do you, what do you recommend organizations do in order to manage that cultural change?
That's a good question, Debbie. Thank you. I really believe I always break these kind of issues down into the three Ps: people, processes, 2 Ps and a T, people, process, and technology. And in that order, I believe first step needs to be to getting all the stakeholders, that's IT, and marketing and merchandising teams around a table to discuss what areas of control need to be devolved from IT back to those lines of businesses, but not in a way that lessens the role of IT. I believe in future the role of the IT department is going to be to make sure the foundational technologies that I spoke about, the infrastructure, the productivity suite, and the line of business applications all run in as optimized a way as possible and are kept as secure as possible as well. I think that's going to be absolutely key going forward, particularly at Christmas this year. So the three stakeholding teams that we've been talking about need to first of all sit down and discuss this. They need to think about it in the context of those 4 transformational technology pillars that I discussed that go to make up the third platform. I think, for example, cloud is a great one to start with, because it does allow the IT department to maybe look at some more value-added strategic projects and allow the marketers and merchandising teams to have much more fully functioned and feature-rich commerce platforms with which to work with and with which to integrate their other key applications. And then, of course, there's the O3 that I described, the omni-channel orchestration and optimization, and that really refers to the whole process side of things. So once the division of duties has been decided, and I think that becomes clearer when you look at it by technology segments in terms of those 4 pillars, it then hopefully becomes easier to work out how the new omni-channel business models will break down by process, where some of those processes will be aligned with IT in terms of strategically enabling business day-to-day, surety of operations, and some of those processes will lie foursquare within the remit of marketing and technology teams. And it's not until all of those hugely key strategic decisions have been made that I would say any retailer should go out and try and specify a commerce platform. I think that going forward, those that do their homework, that do their legwork, are going to end up coming to those providers best suited to their needs by segment, by geography, and so on and so forth. But also end up with a commerce platform that grows with their needs. I mean, one of the things I'm seeing also over the last, say, 18 months is the second generation of e-commerce platforms. A lot of Tier 1 and Tier 2 retailers are re-platforming at the moment. And there's a huge opportunity to literally go back to basics, put away any kind of preconceptions about who does what, and really look at that people, process, technology life cycle to end up with a commerce platform that's fit for purpose now and into the future, that you're not going to necessarily need to re-platform again, whether it's for scalability, reliability, features or functionality down the line another 5 years from time. You want something that's going to grow with you and also enable you to respond and react as fast as possible to the pace of change in the retail landscape that both Mike and I have referred to. So people, process, technology, absolutely key.
All right, terrific. So we're going to start to get ready to wrap up. I just want to give both of you a chance to share some final thoughts and kind of recap the key points from the presentation. So Mike, would you like to share your final thoughts?
Sure, thank you. I think generally speaking, you have to start demanding the systems that support an integrated way that gives you the power back to listen and respond in a near real-time fashion to shopper demands. And I think, as Maya and I have alluded to, that certainly is both in a short-term way as well as in a longer-term platforming way that gives the power back to you to really truly connect at every level with your consumers. And that's the new frontier and where we're going to be competing.
All right, terrific. And Maya, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I would say I think the thing that perhaps I didn't bring out in my presentation that I thought really came out strongly in Mike's was marketers and merchandisers really need to be looking to develop once, execute many times to really capitalize on the economies of scale that the kind of technologies I've highlighted can enable in retailers nowadays. And any retailer that's clinging to legacy systems and not ready to look at the kind of modern architected, multi-tenanted systems that Mike and I have been talking about is really gambling with their future. It's absolutely key that you develop once, reuse as many times as possible, and therefore you're always going to be consistent to your consumer as well. It's got to be the key takeaway for me from this. That's the main thing, and tends to be that when IT gets involved, they're doing point changes, point integrations that might need changing again down the line, and really that's not fit for purpose as far as retailing in the omnichannel world today is concerned.
All right. Thanks to both of you. Yeah, I think you both, collectively made some great points that I think are going to help all of our attendees moving forward as they look at what they need to do to become better omnichannel organizations. So once again, I want to thank both of you, our attendees as well. And if you have a chance, attendees, you can click on the ratings button and rate the presentation. In the meantime, we have one more session in this series, and it is occurring at 2 p.m. Eastern Time today. And the title is 5 Steps to Deliver the Fastest Mobile Shopping Experiences this holiday season. So if you have a chance to join back in another hour for our final session, otherwise you can access all the sessions on demand at your convenience. So thanks again, Maya, and thanks to you, Mike, as well. I think at this point we'll conclude the presentation, and I'll ask you all to enjoy the rest of your day.